Okay. Good morning, everybody. So to start off, I have a couple of questions for you guys. First, who here knows what they're going to do after you finish high school? I'm not going to talk a lot about it because we have a whole department of school counseling for that. Great. Now, how many of you had that same idea of what you want to do when you started high school? Right. So your ideas change. Your plans of what you want to do have changed with time, right? Next one. Who here plays a sport? Right. So how long have you guys been playing that sport? Since high school, since middle school, since before middle school, right? It's been a while. Now, how many are going to keep doing that sport after high school? Yeah. So think about your performance in that sport when you started versus right now. It's been 2, 4, maybe even 6 years or more for some of you guys. So think about how it's going to change in the next 2 or 4 years that you're doing it. One more. Be honest. Who here has learned something since you started high school? Yeah, it's been years. We've all learned something whether we wanted to or not. Right? Think about the last test you had. Would you 3 years ago have been able to pass that test? If you say yes, you need to start taking harder classes, guys. All right, now I have 2 very obvious, very important reminders. First, that the more you do something, the better you'll get at it. Right? That seems obvious, but it gets forgotten a lot of the time because we don't see ourselves getting better. We don't notice it happening. But it's important to remember that the doing things is the here and the now. It happens all the time. The getting better happens when you're not paying attention. It happens in the background. The next, you have to start things in order to finish them. And you do have to keep doing them too. Again, that seems obvious. But how many times have you stopped doing something because it wasn't going the way you planned or it was taking longer than you expected? My name is Ayla, and in case you haven't figured it out already, I'm here to talk to you guys about progress. But before I talk about progress, I'm going to talk about pirates. Pirates before progress. So I did my research project for senior seminar on piracy through the ages. And there were a lot of things that I wanted to learn, but I just didn't have time to get to all of them. That being said, I did learn some pretty cool things that I wouldn't have otherwise had a chance to learn about. So, for instance, it was fairly common to have cats and dogs, as well as parrots and other exotic animals on board pirate ships. That was mostly because cats and dogs are good at catching mice and other rodents that no one wants around, and there was a lot of money in the exotic animal trade. Another cool thing is that pirates did not usually have prosthetic limbs. The peg leg and hook hand stereotype comes from media and literature like Peter Pan and Captain Hook or Treasure Island with Long John Silver. But in reality, that just wasn't really a thing that happened. When we think of piracy, we usually think of it as between the 17th and 18th centuries, which is not wrong, but it actually goes as far back as humans have had access to the ocean. Think all the way back to ancient Greece or ancient Rome. As long as people have had access to the ocean, there have been criminals on the ocean. Most pirates did not bury their treasure. In fact, there's only one pirate in all of history known to have actually buried their treasure. His name was William Kidd, and I believe he buried his treasure somewhere on Long Island. Contrary to popular belief, pirate communities were not dictatorships. They were democracies. The only time the captain had 100% control over his crew was in the middle of the battle. Every other time, every member of the crew had an equal vote in every decision made. And if they didn't think the captain was doing a very good job, they just vote him off the ship and elect a new one. Last but not least, the Vikings were actually pirates. They're not traditional pirates, but they were still seafaring murderers and robbers and criminals, which is the definition of piracy. I also did a lot of research that I didn't really anticipate doing for my project. My senior project was creative writing, and the main characters of my story are part of a pirate crew. So as I was writing my story, I came across a lot of things that I just didn't know. And I had to do some research in order to write a smoother, more accurate story. Which leads me to another good point. My goal was 50,000 words. That did not happen. I only got about 20,000 words after 10 weeks, which is only 2/5 of what I wanted. When you put it like that, it really doesn't sound like much, but 20,000 words is about 60 pages, not double spaced, which is not insignificant to me at all. When I started this project, I had 0 words, 0 plot, and only vague character ideas. And now I have a whole plot, tons of more detailed character plans, and 60 pages worth of writing. So I didn't end up where I wanted to end up at this point in the school year and in the class, but I still made a lot of progress toward my goal, and even though it's going to take longer than I wanted it to, I still have something I can be proud of. So this is most of the BHS class of 2023. We are the seniors. We are the graduating class. It's not something that's going to be us in a couple of years. This is us right now. Like, this is a huge chapter of our lives that is about to come to a close. And while that's true, another even bigger chapter of our lives is about to open. We tend to get hung up on the things that we can't do yet, whether it's an academic achievement, an athletic thing, or a skill. But it's important to remember where you started as well as where you're going when you think about where you are right now. None of us are where we started. Whether you like it or not, you've grown and you've changed and you have made progress. But this is me at about 9 years old, right? That's me 7 years and maybe 6 inches later, right before I went to prom. Me 7 years ago did not even know what prom was. So what else is waiting for me 7 years down the line that I have no idea even exists right now? Right? There's a lot of things that are going to happen that we don't know about yet. And good things. You don't see your progress because you're always raising the bar. But you are making progress whether you believe it or not. Right? Just look at past you. Look at you a month, 2 months, a year, however long ago. You've come a long way, whether you wanted to or not. The person who walked into this building as a freshman is not going to be the same you who graduates. Yeah. We can talk about the grand scheme of things, our life progress and our place in the universe, but it is just as important to remember when you think about the little things. Your sports, your hobbies, your schoolwork, your friends, right? You don't need to see the whole staircase, just the first step. Thank you. Okay. Any questions?
What's the favorite thing that you learned about, like, for your story? Like, what was the favorite, like, pirate thing that you learned?
It made me really happy to learn that they had cats on pirate ships. That meant I could include animals and it wouldn't be, like, completely false. Fictional story, but it's still, like, a real thing that happened.
What are your plans now, Ayla?
In terms of the story?
Yeah.
I want to keep writing it. I think it's going to be a little harder because I don't have like due dates to keep me like actually doing it on a consistent schedule. But I do want to keep trying to finish it. Might take me a while, but hopefully I'll get there. Anyone else? Yeah.
Would you ever think about publishing the story once you finish it?
Yes. That was originally the goal. By this point in the class, I have something I can, like a full novel I can hold in my hands. It's not going to happen yet, but one day I do hope that I will be able to publish an actual book.
Great. Nicely done.
All right, thank you.